Hi, my name is Ted, and I'm going to talk today about how to slay people in the spirit and how it works actually, how people get to the ground. If you want a whole group of people, which Benny Hinn does, a whole bunch of people to go down all at once, have them hold hands. Because when you hold hands, the few that do go down are going to pull down everybody else who are not going to go down. So everybody goes down and it looks amazing. These people are skilled. Benny Hinn is skilled. He has learned through years of experience. If you notice the beginnings of his ministry, it was nothing like what they are nowadays. He has learned the skills of getting people to the ground. He has not learned the skills of real healing. And he knows it. Because when people have asked him for names of people healed, he provides lists where nobody, and in those lists, nobody has really been healed. Maybe they thought they were the night that they were on the stage. But in reality, over the years, over the weeks, over hours, they were not healed. All right, so how does he do it? How do these people do it? First thing I do want to say is this. I need to conclude a couple of things from the last 2 weeks. First of all, I've concluded that when people go to the ground, it has nothing to do with Benny Hinn. Well, I shouldn't say that. It has a lot to do with Benny Hinn, but it has nothing to do with the power of God working through him, and it has nothing to do with the devil working through him. Both of those are completely out to lunch. Because if you close your eyes and don't know, can't hear him, or can't see him, and can't feel him, you're not going to go down. But if your eyes are open, or if you can hear him, that's why he always goes, heal, or whatever he says. He says something. He always says something. Because he has learned through experience that people need to hear him. So as long as people hear him, see him, or feel him, they will go down. If they don't see, feel, or hear him, if they got their eyes closed, they don't go down. All right. And that tells me it has to do something rather than Benny Hinn. It has to do with something going on in the brain of the person who is up on stage. Secondly, I've talked about how it is a cultural thing. It only happens in the United States for a long time, in Europe for a long time, but now I think it's worldwide with the introduction of the internet. And with these healers going out throughout the world, where people now know, oh, this is what I should do. Because culturally speaking, a person in South Korea, a pastor who was healing people in South Korea, came to the United States doing the very same thing and says, what the heck is going on with these people falling down when I touch them? Come on, you don't know? This is what we call slaying in the spirit. All right, he didn't ever see that in his own country. Well, if this was really a God thing, it would happen over there beforehand as well as over here. But if it only happens here, it's because we expect it, they don't expect it. Oh, that word expectation. I just said the most powerful word to send people to the ground. But it's also the most powerful word for temporary healing, which is what's going on stage the vast majority of the time, that you are seeing things going on. Expectation. Not of the healer, but of the person coming forward. Of the person coming into the healing crusade. Expectation. It's a powerful word, and it works powerfully. It does things in our head that are amazing. There are many dynamics going on at once on stage with somebody like Benny Hinn, Catherine Kuhlman, or Kenneth Copeland, or so many other healers. There's so many dynamics. And not one science can explain it all. So the magicians who say it's all magic tricks. No, there's some trickery going on. I know that. I've seen it. I can tell you in the future what some of that trickery is. There are some things that are result of a placebo effect. Yes, I've seen that as well. And Benny Hinn even admits that the placebo effect is very powerful and a part of what goes on in his ministry. And there's also so many different things that happen. But when you're sending people to the ground, the far best science to explain that has to do with hypnotism. Not sending people into these strange, otherworldly experiences, but rather, and when I say hypnotism, I'm going to include with that, there's another part of hypnotism where people don't put people into hypnotic stages, but rather claim that they can get people down and make people do weird things and all that kind of stuff the same way hypnotists would do on stage, by just saying something. Why? The same reason a hypnotist can do it, and the person who says this is going to happen and it really does, and the faith healer, the same dynamics are going on in the brain of the person receiving it. They expect. But it's more than expectation. It's the voice of an authority. That's the second dynamic. These are crucial in so many things that affect us. The voice of authority and expectation are huge and do tremendous things in our lives. But when you trust that person, when you trust an authority, when you trust the person saying something, and you expect that something will happen from that person, that's powerful. Very powerful. So I want you to look at those dynamics. And in this particular case, it is very closely related to hypnotism and to people who come out of the hypnotist movement and say you don't have to put people in another kind of world, if you would, but all you have to do is just say stuff and people will react. You know, people will say, well, you can't move your arm, and people will not be able to move their arm. Why? Because they trust that voice of authority. They believe, they expect that they won't be able to. And all that adds up to something that happens in the head that keeps them from being able to move their arms. But the same thing happens when Benny Hinn sends people to the ground. Now, finally, what is Benny Hinn's job? Benny Hinn's job is something he's been learning through many years of experience. As a hypnotist gets better and better, so the faith healer gets better and better at what they do. They learn to discern. They learn to see. They learn these minute and small details of things that are going on all around them. And they try out little different ways, and they find what works and what doesn't. Eventually, they get really good at their craft. Now, Benny Hinn, if you notice, in the beginning of his years, he didn't do a lot of sending people to the ground. Yes, there was some going on, but nothing like nowadays. His ministry is almost completely focused on sending people to the ground nowadays. Now, I know I can't explain in great detail much more than that, but I will leave you with that, and hopefully that'll get your mind to dig in and think a little bit more outside of the box and see, all right, is there something that I can learn from hypnotism and compare it to faith healing and see if there are connections. Hypnotists, by the way, see a lot of what's going on in those services, saying, oh my gosh, I can see what's going on. This is exactly what a hypnotist would be able to pull off. And so, at least up until the point where the people come to be healed. And that are some other areas of science I want to talk about. So I'm going to leave you with that for today. Have a great day, and I hope you have a great year or whatever. Please subscribe to me, and we're going to talk much more about healing, faith healing. And before I go, I do want to admit one last time, I want to say God does heal. God does work miracles. But what you're seeing on stage, and I've never seen a popular faith healer pull off something that's really anything more than just trickery.